All right, welcome back, guys. It is Isaiah and Nenny. This is the Game Time Gazette where we just talk sports, recap, give our analysis, our breakdowns, all of the above. We're going to go, as I said yesterday, we're going to go through all the college basketball stuff that happened throughout this weekend. So we're talking women's March Madness and men's March Madness, had the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16. But just for this video, this podcast, I'm going to condense it to the to the Elite Eight. We're going to start obviously with the women's side as that finished first, or that finished last, sorry. The men's side finished first, so we're going to start with the women's side. So the Elite Eight, or the Sweet 16, you had LSU beat UCLA. You had Iowa beat Colorado. You had USC beat Baylor. UConn beat Duke. And NC State beat Stanford. Texas beat Gonzaga. South Carolina still undefeated. They beat Indiana. Indiana gave them a scare there as well too. I think that was one of their closest games of the year, one of the closer games of the year. Then you had Oregon State against Notre Dame. Oregon State coming out on top, and then for the Elite Eight, to set up the Elite Eight, right? So had obviously the championship rematch from last year with LSU against Iowa. Then you had on the other side of the bracket, you had South Carolina against Oregon State, NC State against Texas, USC against UConn. And it was, what could we say about it? I mean, it was a pretty fun, women's basketball is obviously on the up and up, as much as everybody, there's obviously a few things that are still, developing, few things, the game is still developing on the women's side, the officiating, the style of play, the pace of play. Obviously, Caitlin Clark has been a great help for the women's game, obviously elevating the game, but just the way that she plays the offensive game. You got Paige Buchers over there in UConn doing the same thing, offensive juggernaut, and Juju Watkins as well, right? So we're seeing the game elevate, but you obviously know that there's a lot of room to grow, but you love to see what what's been happening, what the growth, the way it has been projected, right? So, all right, let's start with the first Elite Eight game. I think I'll just, because with this, obviously the biggest game on it was LSU Iowa. We're gonna do that one at the end of it all. We'll do South Carolina against Oregon State. Not saying, Oregon State, they gave up, a great performance. South Carolina has just been a wagon throughout the year. We'll talk about how they won. So let's look at how Oregon State won this game. How South Carolina won this game. Obviously, it was just what we've seen from them all year long is them be suffocating on the interior, be able to have Cardosa on there and just be able to spot up and, lock down the paint. And then on the offensive side, you had your guards for South Carolina that just, be able to be dynamic on the offensive end, not only be able to get their ball to the bigs, but also get their buckets. And we've seen it plenty from them. The scoring options on this South Carolina team is what's scary about him. They could really go, 4 different ways, 5 different ways. Everybody on the court could get buckets, get it into the interior. Cardosa, she's like Shaq in the paint. Just a cool, calm, collected, and she'll get you the buckets. We obviously seen her stepping out, for that 3 Tennessee. I think that's still her only 3 ever, but we see them with this dynamic offensive type of game, and the way Don Staley coaches is like, a hybrid type of offense where they're they use the press and trying to get defense into offense, turning defensive rebounds into 3-point shots, turning defensive stops into fast break buckets, and they do it really well. At the highest level, really, it's all about the discipline that they play in. That's the one, the biggest, best compliment that I could give them, honestly, because just they're very disciplined team. They come down, don't start, first few buckets don't go their way. You see a lot of teams shrink. You see a lot of teams, start doing different things when they're not even supposed to. It's just been a few buckets, especially on the women's side of the ball, and just get not confident, all of that. And for a South Carolina team, they just don't do that. You don't see that happen to them, and definitely not this year. Able to just go on sustained runs because of their just sustained, focus and discipline. They defensively moving their feet. Blocks on, like, it's Emily Cardosa is getting all these blocks because the on-ball defender, like, she's just getting, a lot of help defense blocks because the out-ball defender is playing them so well, playing them into Cardosa. It's an easy block for her. Go into the middle. They're blocking off the lanes as well. Passing lanes are kind of clogged up. The short porch threes were, where Oregon State, obviously they're a great 3-point shooting team. They tried taking advantage of that. Those were where, South Carolina, as the game started going on, that's where they started taking advantage of and started, limiting on in the game. Seeing a close game there in the first half, and you thought that, hey, this Oregon State team, even the final score doesn't really reflect what this whole game was about. We've seen South Carolina slap up a couple teams this year, but this has been, as you get further and further down the tournament, you get better and better games, and this was a good one. Even though it was like a 14 point game, South Carolina really got tested in this game, and they were able to show, okay, they got the discipline and they got the wherewithal to be able to go through these great teams that, come up against them. Next up, we got NC State versus Texas. Just on this game as well, the NC State fan base, the crowd, the school itself, they're going through one of their best times in program history or school history. Both the men's and women's team have made it into the Final Four, so prop ups to them. First time the NC State men's has made it since 1977, I believe is the number. Let me check up the number. Yeah, first time since 1977, I believe. And it's exciting for a school like that. Texas came into this, Vic Schaefer, fourth season, second most wins in program history. We've seen them do some crazy things with that Texas team, really created a complete wagon. But we've seen this NC State team do three things well in that first half, and one of them was shoot the ball well. We've seen them pass the ball well, get onto the interior. That mid-range shot, they say it's out of the game, but hey, baby, it's there. It's there. That mid-range shot, it's sweet as ever. And NC State used it to their advantage, being able to defend Texas. Texas loves going onto the interior. NC State just, coming up. Strong defense, no fouling. As the game goes on, you're gonna get much more restriction, and as a player, you're gonna get much more tired, and that's what happened for a Texas team that went down big in that first half. We seen them go down, what was it, like 19-20 points, right? So for NC State, they use defense. Obviously, we seen them defense and then push it out on the fast break, which was great to see from a team like them. Not a lot of expectations going on from them, and they're going against this South Carolina wagon that we just, been talking about all year. So it's like, it's definitely going to be a challenge. Obviously, who's going to be that first team to beat South Carolina? They have 2 games left for an unbeatable, invincible season, not beaten season, right? So, with all of that in mind, NC State really has to take all of the positives from this Texas game, from a Texas team that was really great interior team, one of the best teams in the interior, one of the best defending teams, and they were able to shoot the lights out. They were able to defend and able to just build up a lead, be able to take a Texas team that was, projected to, be able to beat South Carolina, be able to take them to the brink and show them that they're serious. They came on their A game, disciplined. Again, another team that was disciplined. Honestly, they were just disciplined. Came on more focused. That three was there. They didn't hesitate. Catch and shoot. We see a lot of that. We're gonna talk about that LSU game. Seeing a lot of that in that LSU game. A lot of hesitation, a lot of non-discipline, and that was the game that was most glaring to me, where there was just a lot of non-discipline. But props up to NC State. When we get to the men's side, obviously props up. Prop them up even more as both the men and women's have made it to the Final Four. Alrighty, let us get to the next one. So we got UConn versus USC. And obviously this was the last game of the night last night. And it was an exciting game. You know, offensive juggernaut Juju Watkins, freshman out of Southern Cal. I mean, why am I mumbling on that? Freshman out of Southern Cal. Just been balling, averaging 27.7 in the March Madness. I think that's the most ever for she beat the record for most total points for a freshman ever last night. Remarkable things. I think she got like 1,000 points or 900 and something. So it's like, you know, an absurd amount of points for a freshman to be able to get, breaking that record. Props up to Juju. But yeah, the story of last night for me was that UConn team and the way they were able to not only defend but score the basketball. They talk about how many UConn players are out of this matchup, how many of them are injured, and this and that, and how Paige Buchers and is it Edwards on the inside, I believe, just able to anchor this team, right, and able to just take them into new heights. Yeah, like, you know, Aaliyah Edwards 24 points, Paige Buchers had a double, 28 and 10, balling. And yeah, Juju Watkins obviously did her thing with 29 points, 10 rebounds as well. Mackenzie Forbes 24 points in that game. But yeah, just looking at how they've been the playing, right, like their style of play. I'm talking in terms of USC now. Their style of play was offense. You know, Juju Watkins obviously leading that charge. So defense, you know, they got length. They got length on the inside. Juju Watkins obviously got some length. I mean, taller team than I didn't watch a lot of USC games this year. Obviously, I know of Juju Watkins, but they got a tall team, right? But they were able to make their 3-point shots. They were able to get onto the interior and really apply pressure to this UConn defense, you know, draw some fouls. Juju Watkins, one of the probably the best foul drawer in women's college basketball. You know, it seems like she's like James Harden / Kyrie out there when she's drawing, you know, the jump shot, you know, creating contact with the defender and then being able to get her shot off, you know, got a few of those and ones, you know, so it was a good thing to see from her. Obviously, you still got 3 more years of this if you're a USC fan, which is it's definitely exciting. You know, with the men's side, obviously, they haven't done as well as projected. Women's side, I mean, they made the Elite 8. I was about to say Final 8, but the Elite 8. And they played really well. Just came up against a team of UConn that was led by Paige Buchers. I mean, on the fast break, being able to just apply pressure to this, beautiful passes, you know, to this, to Aaliyah Edwards on the interior. Aaliyah Edwards even as well, just being able to get the ball on that high post, being able to just work from there. It was, you know, something to see because it just collapsed their defense. USC really had no answers for UConn's offense, especially at the end of the game where UConn just started to go off, right? They just started to get buckets when they needed to get buckets. Paige Buchers started to hit some shots looking like Caitlin Clark out there. Game was close. USC was able to bring it back, and Paige Buchers and UConn and Aaliyah Edwards were able to just fight through it, be able to score them points at the end and be able to extend that lead. I mean, that was something to see. It was something to see defensively and offensively as well. Just the discipline. Again, it comes up because it's very important for this next game. The discipline that you've seen from this UConn team to be able to get this win against the USC team that looked really well, played really well last night against a UConn team. Alrighty, to the last game in the women's docket. It is LSU versus Iowa. I mean, it was the high build, it's like if it was a WWE main event, it'd be, WrestleMania type main event, if, day one type shit, but it was a great watch. Obviously you had the best college basketball player the women's game has ever seen in Caitlin Clark, just doing her thing. Started off the game a little slow, I'm not gonna lie to you, made some made a few bad decisions. That's the one thing probably in her game. In college you get away with it when you're making bad passes, getting these turnovers, because she's able to just go make a three, make it up, because the other team's doing it as well. But and that too. But WNBA, definitely that's where her game is definitely gonna grow. Just the IQ part of it all, being able to piece it together, because it's there, but not just making the right decisions at the right times. And that's what really takes maturity, and that's what's going to be the growth in her game, where it's like, okay, she's getting down in this all right, there was a few plays where obviously you won't see it in the highlights, but there's a few plays, she'd get a high screen coming her way, because obviously, and this is off ball as well, so coming off the high ball screen. Maybe if I get a clip, I'll put it in here. I'll try looking on, but coming off the high screen, off ball, gets the ball, and that pass that just think it's automatic there, but the defenders are thinking it's automatic there as well, and obviously just giving it off. That was, I think, first quarter, and then it was on the other side, Angel Reese that took it, right? It just because it was an easy pickoff. It was an easy pickoff there, and it just seemed like just forcing it. Obviously that IQ part of it all, like obviously that is a correct play. That's not like, oh, that's a bad play. That's a correct play, but not for that situation. Defenders were aware of that. They were watching her eyes, and obviously she's not, but that's the IQ and growth part of it all. But nonetheless, she balled out yesterday, offensive side of the ball, and they were able to, be more focused and disciplined than they were last year in the Final Four, where we seen them just chuck up all those threes because they weren't being able to get into the interior, got frustrated, and she thought that she was Steph Curry from the three, and then just started chucking them up. But obviously your confidence and just your tired level goes down, and it's easier to defend a three as well. That's why they got slapped last year. But last night, able to just stay controlled and into their game plan. Coming out, they had a lot of driving kicks. The high ball screen was like, she gets down to the court and the high ball screen is there. Even if that roll isn't there, even if she's not using that high ball screen, it's there because it's creating, you see another like curl action happening from the other side of the court, probably from the weak side, or the weak side player over there just comes up and they'll just come rushing up the court, be able to get another screen, right? Because the roller already rolled down, popped up to the space that weak side person left off, and then you get another screen from I think the power forward, I forget her name, but they had she had a great game, on the inside, or the power forward center had a great game on the inside, gave great screens, gave great reads. She did make a lot of bad decisions, which led her into foul trouble, but end of it all, Iowa was able to get through it because of LSU's inability to be disciplined, to be controlled in the moment. They went into the half tied, came out of the half, and I feel like that's the most important piece of thing that you got to watch. They came out of the half and they were not composed. They were not ready for the moment. Obviously, everyone's going to point to Haley Van Lith and how she played poorly defensively against Caitlin Clark. There is no question about it. It was poor defensive effort from her. But it was poor defensive effort from the other person that Coach Kim Mulkey put on her. I forget who, but they should have just put I forget her name. Man, let me just search it up. This is not good, but I forget their names. But it's the rapper that they should have just put on her. So they had like 8 people play. First of all, that's something I noticed too. Iowa does not make substitutions. LSU as well. They do not make substitutions, man. If they don't have to, their 5 players that start the game are staying on the floor for the whole game. Few substitutions were made. That surprised me. Maybe, I don't watch them enough, but that surprised me. I'm not going to lie. But Fly J. Johnson should have been on Caitlin Clark from the jump. Not even close. It should have been Fly J. Johnson from the jump. She even at the first half wasn't even the touches. In the game, if you were watching the game, Angel Reese was like, give me the ball. And I understand, her sentiment, because she was working well on the interior, but at a certain point in time, they were just boxing up the paint and intercepting every pass that came inside because they were such direct passes. First, that was bad off, bad just direction of the passes from Haley Van Lith and the other guards. Like Flajie Johnson was, caught into this as well, where it was just bad direction. Like you're throwing it straight at Angel Reese and there's 3 defenders in front of her covering it up. She is tall, but she's not able to jump over and get it over them. They're going to be able to tip over the ball and get a steal, which they did multiple times. I can't tell you how many times they did it. And they were so undisciplined when it came to, guarding that high ball screen. It came back to bite them. They kept doing it in the first half. They kept doing it all game. Iowa State did. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, not Iowa State, but Iowa did, right? The high ball screen with Caitlin Clark and whoever the center is or whoever the power forward is. That high ball screen is there when she comes down the floor. It's just automatic, and they kept falling for it. All right, they're double teaming Caitlin because she made 3 straight trees. Boom, the pass on the interior, easy teardrop, easy bucket, and the lead just ballooned to like 11 quick. After it did that, it never really dropped down. LSU made a little run, not able to make another big run and close down this game. Passing was great, and LSU just could not find their level when they needed to. And another thing that I really wanted to say at the end of the game, Coach Kim Mulkey, she takes, the whole 10 minutes of the fourth quarter to bring out the full court press. I don't know why I did. I was watching the game and I'm like, when is the full court press coming out? It came out like 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the game, down like 12, 13 points. It made no sense to me. Why did you not bring it out 5 minutes into left in the game? You're still down 12 points. They weren't playing well at that point as well. You needed to apply some pressure and get some momentum on your side to be able to get your girls back into the game mentally. So because obviously they weren't playing disciplined basketball. Everybody's talking about Haley Van Lith, this and that, Angel Reese as well, the fouls, this and that. But you got to be able, as a coach, got to be able to see that situation. If she put in the press there 5 minutes left, I would have personally put it in there like 6-7 minutes left. It's a full court press. It's defense. Like you're trying to stop this team from getting points. You're trying to create pressure where pressure can be created. We've seen the Hawkeyes be able to be caught out on full court presses. So that's the one thing that, when you look at it, just don't understand why it took so long. Even when they brought it in, it caused a turnover right away. Go watch the game. Let's see if I could. I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put it in right now on the stream. I'm gonna get it. Go watch the game. But I swear, as soon as they put it in, it won. They got the turnover and were able to. I don't know if they got a bucket, but they got the turnover right away. As soon as head coach Kim Mulkey said, "Okay, let me do the full court press," finally, they got a turnover. And if they did that 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes left in the game, 1 minute and 42 seconds left was ridiculous. That it came in a little earlier than that, I believe, but it was ridiculous, man. It was ridiculous. Like, you just expected a better game plan from them to be able to get, this LSU team, Iowa State Hawkeyes team that has been surging. But nonetheless, the Final Four has been set. It is UConn up against the Iowa Hawkeyes, and it is NC State up against South Carolina. My bracket, if you guys are still counting, my bracket for the women's side is not. It has been obviously busted. I didn't have NC State beating Texas. I didn't have LSU losing to Iowa. But nonetheless, let's get on to the men's side. It is what it is. The women's, it was fun. It was a fun weekend to watch. And it's, that you see that the game's growing, the discipline of it all. That's all that things that come with the game growing. Obviously, we're at the best time of the men's game, but the men's game has just been evolving and evolving since Jordan, since Magic, since Bird. It's been a lot of years of a lot of tape, a lot of, new moves to implement, a lot of, just innovation from, the men to be able to grow to the game where it's been. So I expect nothing less from the women. They're going to get there. It's going to take them some time, but I feel like the time they're in is like that early no, not early. I'll say late 70s time that, that the men were. So like we're talking where Magic and Bird were playing against each other, Michigan State and Indiana State, right? So those type of times. All right, let's go. Alabama, Clemson, Elite Eight. Let's get into it. I had Clemson winning this one. Alabama just played really well down the stretch, defensively able to really, cause pressure against, down the stretch throughout the whole game, really just be able to cause pressure to the interior pieces. We obviously, Sheffland, he had a great game. PJ Hall, a player that I've highlighted here on the Game Time Gazette, had a great game, but just wasn't able to impact the game the way he needed to at the end of the game there. Scotty Scheffler, the chef man, he was really, just dicing it up. At the end of it all, though, Alabama just had that upper hand defensively and offensively, able to get buckets when they needed to and able to get stops when they needed to. Clemson was having a kind of late surge late, and Alabama, they did their best to, just shut them up. Clemson hit a 3, Alabama hit a 3. Clemson hit a 2, Alabama hit a 2. And that's how it really just ended out the game. Played really, really well. Offensively, that's what really surprised me. But they were a great offensive team throughout the whole year. And now they're in the Final Four. I know Brandon Miller, he wishes he, took last year when that Alabama team was really well. And they kind of disappointed last year. But really did not disappoint this year against the surging Clemson team. Were able to come on top and played really well. Let's get to NC State versus Duke. Another marquee matchup that for me, honestly, this weekend, NC State versus Duke. I expected Duke. Again, this is another one that I got wrong. I expected Duke. Even, to be honest, before that, I didn't even expect NC State to beat Marquette. We were on here and I'm saying, hey, NC State, my boys, this and that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. But I did not have them beating Marquette. I did say Duke would beat Houston. Duke had the pieces to be able to get them on their bad day. Seeing Jared McCain go off and be, in this March Madness, Sweet 16 Elite 8, March Madness, 50-50, 40, 90 splits, not 40, 50-50, 90 splits. So if you don't know what that means, if you're a novice, that's 50% field goal percentage. So that's your overall field goal percentage, all the shots he taken, 50% from the 3 and 90% from the free throw line. And I think the number exactly was like 94. So he played really, really, really well. And NC State, Duke just went up against NC, the hammer, the Escalade, the Escalade of NC State and DJ Burns. DJ BJ has been getting looks from the NFL. I'm so happy that I waited one day to film this episode, because it's like I seen that and I'm like, whoa, that's such a topic to talk about. Would he be able to play the game? Obviously they could teach it to him. He got great footwork. That's the number one thing every NFL scout was looking at, is the footwork. And we seen him in the post just looking like Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. It was beautiful to see. Obviously he came out. He was third overall recruit from his state. 2018, same state as Zion. So it was like, when he went to Tennessee, the expectations higher for him, all of this and all of that. And it's really coming all together at the end of his at the end of his college career. Sometimes that's how it be. And for him, it came at the right time, making some March Madness happen. They still alive and they still dancing. NC State really just silencing all the doubters. It's really hard to pick against them, but it's hard because the matchups that they just keep going up against, it's like, I don't know how they're gonna do it there. I don't know how they're gonna do it there, and they just somehow continue to find a way to do it. But Escalade, I'd be excited to see him do a few pro day workouts as well. Just for the fun of it. They said they're gonna pay him. DJ Burns, I mean, Escalade is the whole thing that's been on Instagram and social media, where it's like there used to be a street ball player named Escalade, and he was like a big guy as well, 6'7", something like that, and he was just big, bulky, and he was Escalade. That's the name he gave himself back in the early 2000s, and really plays like a DJ Burns out there, like just so free and so like smooth, and but it was a fun win there. I do not expect NC State to do what they did against Duke to a Purdue. You know what, we're coming down to the two most dominant teams right now in March Madness in college basketball, both men's and women's sides. Put them both at men's and women's sides. I mean, the next game that I'm about to show is UConn against Illinois. You got people like Mike Greenberg on ESPN Get Up saying, hey, they think that UConn could play in the NBA and be able to make the playoffs. Blasphemous. I mean, it doesn't get any more blasphemous than that, but it just makes you think of how good this team really is. I mean, they are elite at all levels, do it well. Defensively, they just crunch down on you. When they go into that 2-3 zone, call it a game. Because they go into that 2-3 zone and then hybrid, go 3-2, and then switch it up into man-to-man. It's just like they're playing with your mind. What are they in? They're playing with your mind. Defense, I mean, activity on defense, hustle on defense. That's another thing. I don't mean to backtrack, but like that's the one thing that Iowa outdid LSU. I know that's like 2 games ago that I'm talking about, but Iowa out-hustled LSU. I mean, they would have a high screen, the same high screen they keep talking about, and LSU would never hustle through that screen. And I open shot. But yeah, UConn, back to the Huskies. Hustle team. They are literal Huskies. Woof, woof, woof. Because they continue to if they don't got it there, they'll come back and bite again. Maybe they got it there. If they don't got it there, they'll come back and bite again. It was like 23-25 at one point, and then it was just UConn. I mean, Illinois didn't score for like 13 minutes. UConn just locked down defensively, man to man. You seen perfect just moving of your feet. I mean, I want to get up and show you guys here. That's how excited I am watching this UConn team play defense sometimes. And just beautiful team basketball on the other side of the floor. Just being able to get it onto the inside, calmness. Not rushing. If you get it to your big man, you let your big man work. If you get it to your guard, you let your guard work. You give him a little screen, you let him work. If you're doing it from the fast break, fast, quick pop, they're doing everything correctly. It's all discipline and very, very laid out. Like, you see how hard they practice all of these schemes. They have schemes for fast break. They get up and they have a high ball screen, get it down, and then all right, you already got them out on the post. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful to see the sequence of basketball that this UConn Huskies team plays at. And I'm gonna be excited to see them play in the final, because I do not see them losing in the Final Four. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see it, man. I don't see it, because honestly, like, I would predict here as well that Alabama, they're scoring. That's just all they need to continue to do. We've seen them do it against Clemson. Clemson, not the same monster though, but if they're able to score the basketball, they're going to be able to keep in this game. And then at the end of the day, let luck in the basketball gods decide. But, I do still believe that, this freight train, like I said 2-3 weeks ago, this freight train that UConn Huskies team will not be stopped before the final. I don't believe so. And then you look at the last game of the weekend. Finally, we at the end. It was, not last game of the weekend. This was earlier in the weekend, but last game that we'll be covering here today on the Game Time Gazette was Purdue versus Illinois. One of my favorite games all weekend. Dalton Connect and Zach Edey. They were both going for one of the best college matchups you have ever seen, or I have ever seen in my life. First time since 1977 or something like that, since the 70s, that's, two players on the team scored a 30 or more points in a March Madness game. Dalton Connect had 37. Guy was just shooting the lights out. Get off that low ball screen. Psh, 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 through the corner. It was fun to see. Where he goes is going to be interesting to see. I'm going to be interested, man. Like he's a good player, great player. And, he could shoot the lights out. Obviously got that great basketball IQ, could play great defense. Wouldn't be surprised if he's a number 16 pick to the Toronto Raptors. And then on the other side, Zach Edey, 41, like 20 something, and like 5 blocks, something like that, or one block, something like that. The most important block of the game at the end of the game against Dalton Connect. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Edey gets picked even higher and gets into that, maybe even that top 10, creeps that top 10. I know a lot of haters are out there saying that he is not able to do it, but when you watch this guy play basketball, you cannot find me a more dominant big in college basketball. Obviously not right now, and he's one of the most dominant bigs in college basketball ever. We've seen his game elevate. We've seen him get faster. We've seen his feet get quicker. We've seen him get a better post game. We've seen him add things to his game. Obviously, end of the game, him airballing a free throw was not a great look. Nerves definitely was there because he was hitting them earlier and this and that, and so the nerves were definitely there. But all in all, he had nerves and tiredness. Let me not even forget that he played every single minute of the game. He sat for like 30 seconds. So it's like, He's an amazing player. He's an amazing player, and I would not be surprised if his draft stock rose, to the level of a top 10 pick. You hear the report of, this is the worst draft that some execs have ever seen, which excites me. It excites me to my core because we are finally gonna get some guys in the league again. I mean, 2021 or 2020, whatever, that Tyrese Halliburton draft, they said that was the most trash draft they ever seen, this and that, and we got Tyrese Halliburton, an all-star. The Giannis draft, they said that was the most trash draft. We got CJ McCollum, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I believe that who else was in that draft? Was Sabonis? No, it's not Sabonis. Victor Oladipo. We got some guys in that draft, bro. So it's like, I'm excited. That excites me. It excites me because the draft picks are seeing this too. The draft picks aren't like getting hyped up and their heads ballooned and they turn into Jaden Ivey or they turn into, Killian Hayes or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will genuinely be working harder to be able to prove that, hey, they deserve to be a number 10 pick. They deserve, even though, probably all the 10 picks ever work hard to do that, but they don't have the hype behind them to actually gas their head to actually think, oh yeah, I'm a worthy 10 pick. But with all that, it's been fun talking, all college ball with you guys. As I talk, we're, nearing the end of the NBA season, and I will be covering a lot more NBA, the draft, the playoffs, the awards, all of that and more, still here on the Game Time Gazette and still from our other sports leagues. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover this week. I mean, I try to fit this episode into the most compact way I could with all just college basketball. Obviously, I would still go NBA, this and that, but we'd be here for a while. And I know you guys got some other things to do, but I love that you spent this time with me here today. If you would, just leave a review on what you liked about the video, anything on it, your opinions on the games, maybe on the LSU Iowa game. How did you feel about LSU's work ethic and how they played in the game? And and without further ado, it's been your host Isaiah Aneni. This has been the Game Time Gazette. Peace.